Well, let's talk about something a little fun today. So I'm going to tell you the story of the Rock Legends cruise that we went on back in February, right after we closed the business and moved out of the office. This was a cruise we booked about a year ago. I was out on the Nile one evening and saw an advertisement on Facebook that Sammy Hagar was headlining the Rock Legends cruise. And if you know me, you know I am an 80s rocker. Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, you know, it has just been my music my entire life since I was 14 years old, and I put that first cassette tape in and heard Van Halen the first time. Still remember the day. Just blew me away. It was the first concert I ever went to. I've seen him in concert. I think with between, you know, Van Halen with Sammy, Van Halen with Dave, and then Sammy and Mike together, I've seen them probably 8, 9, or 10 times now, maybe more after the cruise. But I sent Tammy a message and I said, book it. I didn't even ask if she wanted to go. I said, book it. And then later in the summer, they announced more headliners, and they added Rick Springfield, Bret Michaels, Collective Soul, Jefferson Starship, and then there was a bunch of other bands on there, performers. Some of them I really regretted not looking into them more, because I'll admit that I did not know who Jeff Tate was, and I didn't look anything up. We just went and didn't realize he was the lead singer of Queensryche, so I could have gotten to see him do Silent Lucidity live, and I missed it. But anyway, we had a great time. So we're trying to get moved out of the office, and that weekend before, the cruise was February 22nd to the 26th. We needed to be moved out of the office by the 29th, end of the month. And I didn't want to take a chance on something happening and coming back and having to do work and everything. And, you know, spending that last couple of days in a panic or getting stuck outside the country or something. And so I was trying to get moved out before we left. The week before the cruise, I was convinced we were just going to miss it, and it wasn't going to happen. And I was just stressed, you know, off the charts. So that weekend, the storage unit that I got, the PIN code to get in didn't work. And the lady that ran the local office had a death in the family, and I couldn't get into my storage unit. It put me like 3 days behind. This guy who was supposed to take my shelving from the warehouse and was going to buy that from us, he was in communication with me for several weeks and was trying to coordinate and everything, and at the last minute he backed out, didn't take it, and ended up having to give that shelving away to get rid of it. Anyway, fortunately I had not paid a ton of money for it, so it didn't hurt terribly, but still, you know, stressful situation. So I'm hauling things to storage and finally getting everything moved out. We sell our last inventory off to a friend of mine, and shipped it out. Another friend of mine who had another business that I met when I worked for Cricket, he bought some of my converting equipment and shipped it out. Got everything out of the office. The last night before the cruise, matter of fact, the last load I loaded in my van, I left it in the van while we went on the trip and just packed it and left it, because I got in bed at 3:03 a.m. Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Got up at 6 a.m. to drive to Miami. So I had about less than 3 hours sleep. I had determined that we were going to be in Miami 3 hours early. I said, I will sit in a Denny's and eat bacon for 3 hours. I don't care. I don't want to miss it. And we get up, and February 22nd was the day AT&T was down nationwide. So more things go wrong. That's fine. I can get to Miami fine from here. What I didn't know was, since we didn't have Waze, I did not know there was a blockage on I-75, and what normally takes us about 30 minutes to get to Naples took us 2 hours. And so the stress level was just climbing and climbing. We get to the port of Miami. We drop our luggage, and the email that they had sent said to parking garage D, and we couldn't find the garage. And we drove in and out and around this port like 3 times, and at this point I'm going, my luggage is going on a cruise without us. And then we finally find the garage, and you know, for some reason nobody there could really give us accurate instructions. But then I found out that everybody else had the same issue with parking, so I didn't feel too stupid. So we get on the ship with about, we got maybe 30 minutes before our actual boarding time, so we wasn't terribly bad, but still was pushing things. We go straight up to eat lunch. I know, let me tell you, I was not in a good place when I stepped on this ship. I was probably at my limit of the most stress I'd ever seen in my life. I just, was beside myself. And so we go straight up to eat lunch. I'm wearing a shirt that says West Virginia on it. And the guy at the table next to us says, what part? He said, I used to be in Athens, Ohio, and used to go over to Parkersburg. And so we start chatting, and his stepbrother is there, and we all just kind of clicked and talked for a while. And I mentioned that I was, he asked what I did, and I said, well, so I worked in IT for 25 years, and we were just chatting, and he took kind of an interest to that, and found out some of the things that he was working on, and started talking a little bit about that stuff. And so come to find out, he used to live in LA. He was from Chicago, used to live in LA. He also used to live here in Fort Myers, and now he lives on Grand Cayman. And he is friends with Sammy Hagar's son. And he gets out his phone, and he's telling me all these stories, and showing me pictures and video of the band, and they used to hang out with them and everything. And just the conversation just turned everything around. It was about an hour-long conversation, I think. At least it seemed like it. And it was like my whole perspective of what was going on changed. And I ran into him a little bit later, just right after that at the bar. And he bought me a drink, and we talked, and I told him, I said, I don't think you understand, when I got on the ship, I was not in a good place. And I said, our conversation, really changed that for me. And, then the next day, I'm out on the top deck of the ship looking down at the pool stage Jefferson Starship's performing. And this guy walks up beside me. They finish. I start talking to him. Talk to him for like 30 minutes. And it turns out it's his buddy. And I'm like, this is so weird, because there's 5,000 passengers on this ship, plus a couple thousand crew members. And I somehow meet his friend randomly. And so it was just weird at that point, So we're now in the depths of the Rock Legends cruise. The first night is Sammy Hagar opens in the Royal Theater, which is, aside from like the pool stage, it was the biggest venue, and it was only like 1,200 people or something in there. So real small, intimate setting. What was weird was, no matter how long the line was to get in to one of the shows, you could be halfway back or all the way in the back of the line, and you still was able to get in like the third or fourth row of the stage, because people went in and they sat everywhere. It was to me, it's like you get in early, you go down front, but it was just kind of strange to us. But I'm fine with that, because these were things that I tell everybody that Tammy and I had the most fun we've ever had in our lives by a mile. It wasn't even close. Everything was like, go to a show, you leave that show, you grab a slice of pizza, you get in line, they had tables set up serving drinks along the lines and everything, and you just go, one show after another. It was like seeing all these great acts in very small, intimate settings. And about 25 years ago, I saw Edmund McCain in New Orleans at the House of Blues. So it was a real small, intimate setting. It was kind of like that. And it was just phenomenal. And it was things like you only see these kind of things on YouTube or whatever, because Sam and Mike and the band are performing, and Bret Michaels and Rick Springfield came out and sang a song with them. And then over the course of a couple of days, they had these interview sessions where a guy from iHeartRadio just sat down, kind of like a coffee table discussion, and did an interview. The first one was Sam, Mike, and Rick Springfield. And then the next day, they interviewed Billy Gibbons. Then right after him was Bret Michaels. It was just go, one thing after another. And then they really changed up, I think, how they operate the ship too, because you could go anywhere, anytime almost, and get food, and all the places were open all the time. It was just totally flexible for you to do whatever you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. And I would highly recommend, if you ever think about going on one of these themed, especially these musical cruises like this, do it. It was a blast. And so we are going to these shows and hanging out. We're meeting people. In total, I think we met probably about 8, 10, maybe 12 people that we hung out with for the duration of the cruise. It was like 4 nights, and got to be really good friends with them. As a matter of fact, we had so much fun that within like a week after we got home, everybody booked for next year. We don't even know who the headliners are yet. And we still don't know. They haven't announced the main headliners yet. We're hoping it's going to be somebody good, but we're not really worried about it because we know we're going to have fun. And so we go to all these shows. And, like I said, my primary reason for booking this was to see Sammy Hagar. And my fan level for this guy, Bret Michaels, went up like 1,000 times over on this trip. I'd never seen him live. If you ever get a chance to see him perform live, do it. Even if you don't care for the music, he is one of the most phenomenal performers I've ever seen in my life. I'm the guy that I usually only stand up if somebody stands up in front of me and I can't see. I don't like to stand up at 6'5", so I block everybody. And I typically would just sit back with a drink and enjoy the music. And this guy, Bret Michaels, literally, you felt guilty if you weren't up with your hands over your head while he's performing. He's that good. And he's just grateful to be alive. He had a lot of medical issues, still has a lot of medical issues, and just a great person, supports our veterans and does a lot. Matter of fact, this was he did Something to Believe in and brought all the veterans up on stage. Phenomenal guy. So good that, like I said, my whole reason for going was to see Sammy Hagar, and we saw Sammy twice on the cruise, and we chose to see Bret Michaels 3 times. He was that good. No disrespect to Sammy at all. I love watching this guy. We have tickets to see him again in July, and then we have tickets in December to see Bret Michaels again, and then the next cruise is next February, Rock Legends cruise. If you're thinking about going, I think there's still cabins available. Go book it. It doesn't matter who's going to be on the cruise. It is a good time. For me, I felt like it was a life-changing event, to be honest. Where I was at when I stepped on that ship was 180 degrees different from the way I stepped off of it. I tell people all the time, I don't know what I did. There was 4 things I did a lot of, and that was sing, scream, drink, and cry. And I don't know which one I did the most of, but my bar tab kind of is hard evidence. But anyway, we had a phenomenal time. Can't wait to do it next year. This year we went all out a little bit, and we booked a cabin with a balcony. And we didn't do that for next year because we weren't in the room very much. We only went on the balcony a few times, and so to me it wasn't worth the extra money we spent on it. I wish we'd have spent that money on a different cruise or something, and maybe upgraded some other time, because I do like to be able to sit outside like that. But with this, we were just on the go all the time, and I just had a phenomenal time. Had one small incident where this, steroided up guy kind of got in my face, and a security guard had to rescue him, and I almost got banned from Royal Caribbean, but we won't talk about that. But anyway, I just wanted to tell everybody about that experience. Like I said, Bret Michaels, phenomenal performer. Rick Springfield really blew me away. Would love to see him more. And he played a lot of his older music. He's a real rocker. Really, really good performer. Collective Soul. Wow, what a unique band. I saw Collective Soul open for Van Halen in 1995, April 95, I think. And that was on their Balance tour. And that was when Collective Soul's first album, or their first big hits, hit the radio. And so it had been 29 years since I saw those guys, and they are good. I think the 2 brothers, the original band members, and then the drummer and guitar player, I think are different from what they were back then. But really, really good. I'd love to see them again sometime. They just released a new double album, and it was just a trip for the ages. I just couldn't. I could go on for days about how much fun we had, and how much it changed things for us. And the guy that I had met when we got on the ship, that used to hang out, was friends with Sammy's band, son and everything. I ran into him again one day, and we talked, and I said, I want to understand more about what you're doing. And he said, well, why don't you get on a plane, come to Grand Cayman and see me? So we came home. We were home for like 3 days, and we flew to Grand Cayman and hung out with him and his wife for a few days, and his kids. And a phenomenal family, some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and was just a good experience to go meet him and his wife and just hang out by their pool. They live right on 7 Mile Beach in Grand Cayman. Phenomenal view. I posted a couple of those pictures on my Facebook page. Here's a picture of essentially their backyard. But really, really nice people. And, I may do something with him. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We've had a wonderful time there, and established a pretty good relationship with those folks, and just we really can't wait to see them again. He has an older son that's autistic, and I think his sons were 24 and 28, and the older one's autistic, and they have someone that helps with him. And he's just, I tell you, this guy, he was he's like a joy to watch. He's high energy. They have someone there that helps take care of him and works with him and everything. And to go out, you watch him go out by the pool and swim and go down to the beach, and just his attitude, you can't help but smile being around this guy. And they sent us pictures. They went to Disney a couple of weeks ago. He loves Disney, and they sent us pictures. And every time we see a picture of him or hear him when we're talking to him on the phone, he just brings a smile to our faces. A great, great guy. And look forward to seeing them again sometime soon. But next year, what was funny on this cruise was we were really, didn't know what to expect from the cruise, and people. Is definitely our kind of people on this cruise. We just everybody had fun. Most everybody was there just to have a good time. We watched people get off of this cruise. One, we found out that there are a lot. This was the 11th year they've done this, and they use it as a fundraiser for the North American Heritage Association and the NAHA, and there were a ton of people who have been on all 11 cruises, or have been on 5 or 6 of them, or whatever. And then we watched people get off of the ship and take their luggage and get right back in line to get back on the same ship for the Monsters of Rock cruise the following week. And then here recently we found out there is not only a hotel in Fort Lauderdale where a bunch of them go, and they have a pre-party the night before at the hotel, and they take a shuttle to the port. There's also a pre-cruise cruise where a group of them go on this cruise to warm up, and then they go to this hotel and have the party the night before. Then they go on that one, and I'm sure some of those are the ones that goes on the following Monsters of Rock cruise the next week. Crazy to think about doing all that. The one was quite tiring for us, and we had a ton of fun. But just wanted to share that with you. Not only kind of the stress of what happened when we closed the business and moved out of the office, but the fun and things that ensued the following week, that I never dreamed that in 4 days the stress level and my attitude and how I was feeling could possibly change that much. And we were both thankful for the good time that we had, the people we met, and the opportunity that we got to actually enjoy that when we thought we were going to miss it. So maybe tomorrow I think I'm going to talk about the transformation, the health things that we've done, and share some of that information with you. So we'll see what everybody thinks about some of that stuff that we've learned, and I'll just share with you what changes we've made that has it's impacted our health quite a bit. So anyway, but I'll follow up with a video on that tomorrow.